Hello. Welcome back to our math review part 2. Okay, earlier this week we talked about some skills that we've covered in second grade, and I wanted to just kind of go over those skills with you and just to make sure that you're caught up and ready to know everything that you needed to master by the end of second grade. Okay, so we're going to kind of just bounce off what we did earlier this week, and we're going to join in to some ways to add and subtract. Okay, we talked about this called a tape diagram. Okay, early in the year we did many of these tape diagrams. Okay, and we remember that in the top, the number in the top would be the biggest number. Okay, so this one starts with the number 9. What are two ways that you can think of to make the number 9 using addition? Okay, let's do 6 and 3. Okay, so in this tape diagram, there are several ways you can write these numbers. 6 and 3 equal 9. You can change the numbers and you can put the 3 in front of the 6. This also would be one way to write the tape diagram. Think of the four ways that are in the fact family. Okay, let's start with the smallest number first. Okay, there's 2 additions and 2 subtractions. 3 plus 6 equals 9. Okay, what would be the second way? 6 plus 3 equals 9. Okay, now think of the 2 subtraction ways to write the fact family. Take the biggest number first. 9 minus 3 equals 6. And the last way would be 9 minus 6 equals 3. Very good. The next thing we covered after the tape diagram, of course, was our number line, jumping on the number line. Okay, you could start with your smallest number, and that would be number 3. Okay, if you're going to add 6, you could jump up 3. Okay, if I did that, I would label each number on the number line. Okay, and so I'm going to start with the number 3, and I'm going to jump up 6, which would mean I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I could say 3 plus 6 equals 9. Now, those were our easiest forms of using the number line. They did get a little bit harder, which is what we're going to get into today. Okay, that was just a review to show you how we use the number line. So today's problem starts with these. Keisha's math test score is a 95. John's math test score is 13 points less than Keisha's score. What is John's score? Now, there are several ways that we can solve this problem, okay? We know 2 things. We ask ourselves, what do we know? Okay, we know that Keisha made what number? A 95. I like to write down what I know before I begin. We know that John made 13 points less. What operation would we choose here to find John's score? Okay, we would, if we know it's 13 points less, we're going to subtract. So John's score is going to be what Keisha made, the 95, minus the 13. Now, there's several ways we can solve that, okay? We can solve it on an open number line, okay? Or we can subtract and borrow if we have to, okay? Let's look at the number line first, okay? The number line is going to be starting with the number that we know, 95. Now, do you remember how we can break apart 13? What are the ways we can break apart 13? Well, it's got 1 10 and 3 1s. So I'm going to write that to the side, 10 plus 3. If I know that I've got a lesser number, I need to go back. I'm going to go back by 10 first, okay? So everybody knows what's 95 minus 10. 85. Super. Then I'm done with the 10 and I need to go back another 3. What's 85 minus 3? 82. I know that John made an 82. There's a way to check myself by looking at the problem here, okay? All right, can I take 3 from 5 without borrowing? Yes, 2. Can I take 1 from 9? Yes, 8. I've checked myself, and I've got an 82 here and an 82 here, which means I've checked, and I've got the problem correct. Okay, let's try to solve another. Now, if you have your paper and your notes, I hope that you're working with me with your paper, drawing out these number lines. Anything that I draw, you can always press pause on the video. Take your time to draw. Problem number 2. There were 22 people on a train. More people got on at the next stop. Now there are 51 people on the train. How many people got on at the next stop? Okay, there's some things that I know. I know what we began with, okay? I know we began with 22 people on a train. I'm going to write down what I know. I know at the end of the ride, it said there were how many people on the train? 51. So here's the information that I know. What I need to know is how many people got on the train. Now, there's several ways that we can solve this problem. Do you remember how to solve it with an open number line? Okay, let's start with the biggest number that you have out of those two. That would be 51. I'm going to put that here. And I need to count how many it'll take for me to get back to 22. Okay, so let's look. And let's take the number line first, okay? Now, remember how we would go when we subtracted or added, we would find the nearest 10. What's the nearest 10 to 50? Okay, I'm going to jump back 1, and I'm going to get to 50. Now, I'm going to jump back to the nearest 10 that is bigger than 22. I can't jump all the way back to 20, but I need to jump back to the biggest number in front of 22. That would be to 30. If I'm going to jump from 50 to 30, how far did I go? 20. Now I need to jump back one more time from 30 to 22, and that means I would jump back how many? 8. Now I need to add all those up. I jump back to 1, 20, and 8. If I add all those 3 up, 21 and 8, I know that I get 29. Now let's check ourselves by subtracting and see if we got the same number, okay? There were 2 people on a train. Some got on at the next stop. Now they're 51. I'm going to check myself by subtracting here. Now you should know by 2nd grade how to borrow when there is no digit big enough in the ones place. Can you take 2 from 1? No. You need to go over to the tens place and borrow 1 10. You make that a 4 and add a 10 to the ones place. Now you have 11 minus 2 is 9, and 4 minus 2 is 2. Is that the same number I got when I used my open number line? 29? Yes, so now I know that I'm right. If I used a tape diagram to solve that problem, let me show you what it would look like. Do you remember where you would place your number on the tape diagram? Okay, you would if this was the tape diagram, the biggest number always goes where? At the top. So I'm going to put 51. I know that the train started with 22 people. What I don't know is the question mark. Okay, so here is my tape diagram to solve. What I'm going to ask myself is, what can I add to 22 to get 51? Or what can what can I take away from 51 to get 22? And we found that the answer was 29. Good job. Very good job. Okay. Let's move on to one more like that, okay? There are 27 small dogs and 26 big dogs in a pet show. Okay? How many dogs are in the pet show? Now, there's several ways to solve that. Let's write down what we know. We said there were 27 small dogs in the pet show and 26 big dogs. I like to write down my facts for what I know. Now, there's several ways that I can solve this. Let's talk about putting these on the tape diagram. Okay, so we don't know the number we're looking for. That number goes on top. We don't know yet how many dogs we have. That's the top number. What we do know, we can write in the diagram. We know that there are how many small dogs? 27. How many big dogs? 26. We know from looking at the tape diagram, what operation do you choose to find the answer here? Adding. Now, we're going to do it two ways. We're going to check ourselves by adding the regular way, but we're also going to fill in the open number line. You'll need to know how to do that, okay? So let's start with the biggest number we know. We know we have 27. We're going to need to jump up, adding 26 places. Let's start by looking at the number 26, okay? How many 10s are in 26? 2. So we can jump up 20, which would leave us at 47. That's not the answer, though. We've jumped up 20 times. We need to jump up how many more? 6. We jumped up 20 the first time, and we need to jump up 6. What's 47 plus 6? 53. So if I wanted to add 27 plus 26 by using the open number line, it would look like this. If I wanted to write it on the tape diagram, I could erase the question mark and put in 53. Now let's check ourselves by adding these two numbers, 26 plus 27. Do we know our math facts? I hope so. Do we start with the tens or the ones place? We start with the ones place. How much is 6 and 7? 13. Put down your 3 and carry your 1. 1 and 2 is 5. Now we've checked ourselves. Did we get the same number, 53? We did. Very good. Very good. Okay, so those were the two problems there. I showed you how to add using the regular way, the tape diagram, and I showed you using the open number line. Let's go back and review a little bit of place value today, okay? Let's take a number and let's look at this number. If you just have 7. What place value is the 7 in? Do you remember? 7 ones. When you have 2 digits, like 37, what place value do you have here? 3 10s and 7 ones. Good, okay? Now, let's take another number, 237. What place value are you using here? 7 ones, 3 10s, remember, and 2 hundreds. I'm going to abbreviate there, hundreds, okay? All right, so I want you to take a number that I give you And I want you to break it apart into the place value that it requires. Let me show you what I mean, okay? All right, so I'm going to start with my hundreds, tens, and ones chart first, okay? All right, so if this number was 237, I want you to break apart this number and tell me how I could write that using blank plus blank plus blank. Okay, I'm going to draw a line here. All right, so how much is the 2 in the hundreds place? 200 plus 3 in the tens place? 30 plus 7 in the ones place? 7. Okay? All right, so I want you to practice that again. 541. Can you break apart that number for me? 500 plus 40 plus 1. With me? Very good. These are the value of a number, okay? Now let's talk about this number. There's several ways that I could write this number, okay? I could write this number as 500 plus 40 plus 1. I could write it as 541. I could also write it a different way. What if I were to take the 54 and change that to 54 tens plus 1? Let's figure that out. How many are 54 tens? Well, how many is 110? 110 looks like that. So if you have 54 tens, you're going to have 540 plus 1. That's the same way to write 541. This we haven't done in a long time. 54 tens is the same as 540. Good job. Okay. All right. So the next thing I want to talk to you today is a little bit about using some measurement in what we learned. Do you remember some of the measurement tools that we had? Let's talk about the English units, okay? We talked about metric units and English units. Let's review with what we use in America, the English unit. What's the smallest unit of measure in the English system? Okay, the inch, right? The inch. What's bigger than an inch? Let's say 12 inches. A foot. Nice. Okay, a foot is the size of a ruler. What's bigger than a foot? Let's put 3 of the feet together. You have a yard. Very good. Okay. Now, what is bigger than a yard? There's 1,760 of these yards in this unit. It's called the mile. Those are English units that we learned, okay? Let's talk basics on this. How many feet, how many inches in a foot? Okay, did we learn? You need to know these to move on in second and third grade. How many inches in 1 foot? 12. Very good. Okay. How many feet in 1 yard? 3. Nice job. Very good. Okay. How many inches in 1 yardstick? Okay. Yardstick, remember, is about this big. How many inches is that? If you can put 3 rulers together, that's 12 plus 12 plus 12. So how many inches are in 1 yard? 36. Very good. Okay, those are facts that you need to know. Now let's look at a couple of questions, okay? Maddie's dresser is 44 inches shorter than her bedroom wall. The length of her dresser is 36 inches. What is the length of her wall? Let's write down what we know. Okay. Did you catch how many inches her dresser was? 36 inches, okay? What we don't know is the length of her wall, okay? We know that her dresser is 44 inches shorter than her wall. So we do know something. Let's make a tape diagram from what we talked about, okay? We don't know the size of her wall. That's going to be on top. We always put the biggest number on top. The wall is long. See Miss Gillard's wall behind her? Okay, a wall is long. The dresser does not take up the whole wall. A dresser is where you store your clothing, okay? So we don't know the length of the wall. We do know the length of the dresser. Let's put that in the tape diagram. We know that it's 36 inches. We know that her wall is 44 inches bigger than that dresser. So we want to put the 44 in beside the 36 on the tape diagram, okay? Now, by looking at this diagram, do you know whether you should add or subtract? Yes, you should add. You should add. Now, there's two ways we're going to talk about adding. We want to check ourselves using the regular way, and we also want to make a a number line, okay? So we're going to save this way to the end. The regular way, we're also going to make a number line. I want you to practice that. You need to know how to use that. So start with the smallest number, 36, and you're going to jump up 44 to figure out the length of the wall. Now look at the number 44. How can you break apart 44? We just broke apart numbers. How many tens in 44? 4 tens. So that would be representative of 40. 40 plus 4 ones is 44. Now that we know that, we need to jump up 40 and then jump up 4 more. So we're going to jump up the length of, we're going to get to the nearest 10 first, okay? So we're going to jump up 44. So to get to the nearest 10, we would jump up from 36 up to the nearest 10 from 36 would be how many? 40. So now we've jumped up 4. So we're done with that. Now we only have to jump up 40 more. Now we need to jump up 4 tens from 40. 1 10 would be 50, 60, 70, 80. And now we've jumped up 40. So we've jumped up 4 and then 40. So our final number is 80 inches for the length of the wall. Now we're going to go over here and see if 80 should be the correct answer. How can we check ourselves to know if 80 is the correct answer? Well, we can add up 36 plus 44. Let's check it and see. Do we start with the tens or the ones? The ones. 6 and 4 is what? 10. Carry the 1. 1 and 3, 4. 4 and 4 is 8. And yes, we got it right. The length of the wall is 80 what? Inches. Always put a unit to the end, okay? 80 inches. Now you just did several problems to review. I want you to, if you're still working with us, I want you to have someone or yourself write out on a piece of paper your facts all the way up through 20. Get every fact you can think of. 14 plus 5. 20 minus 3. Big facts like that. 11 plus 6. 3 plus 4. 9 minus 5. And I want you to get them on a piece of paper and solve. Also, the MobyMax Fact Fluency will help you tremendously, as well as the iReady Math, okay? So 14 plus 5 is what? 19. Good. 20 minus 3 is what? 17. 11 plus 6? 17. 3 plus 4? 7. And 9 minus 5? 4. You can never do too much of these. All summer long, I want you to do those practice sheets with you today, okay? So that's our math review, part 2. and then looking for another one this week later. Okay, so you have a couple of reading reviews, a couple of math reviews. Don't forget to complete all the work in the Google Classroom. Okay, thank you for joining me today. Miss Gaylord, we'll see ya later. Okay, keep working. Thank you. Bye bye.